All right, I have started the recording. This is session 0, so we're just going to be doing character creation and kind of laying down the setting tonight. In the Talus directory, in the character sheets directory, I've created a new subfolder for the White Owl Orphanage. And in it, each of you will see you have a folder with your name on it. So it looks like tonight we're missing Vivian and Chris, and we kind of expect Chris will probably hardly show up at all, but that's okay. I'm actually going to message Vivian real quick just to see.
Where's the thing again?
Oh, so in the Google Drive and the Talus directory where we've been putting stuff, I have a new directory under character sheets called White Owl Orphanage.
Should we retain the version number just in case?
It's not a terrible idea. We will be beginning this adventure in the village of Oakbrine, which on the Talus map is about halfway between Celebre and halfelven. It's a town of little significance on the map, mostly grain farming. There's also a little bit of dairy farming and a single fisherman, just the one. When we talk about one-horse towns, this is a one-boat town. But it is along the coast. So while I know on the map it almost looks like a river, that is technically a saltwater inlet. And this is an area on that. The primary adventure will be happening around the White Owl Orphanage, and what we want to figure out today is what your 3 characters are and how they came to be at the orphanage. So whether their parents died, abandoned them, handed them over to the orphanage as the parents went off to war. This will be taking place pre-Moonfall, but still in the ramp-up to the Aphthous War. So the plagues have been around, so your parents could have died from plague, any number of things. Your 3 characters do not need to be related to each other. They can come from completely different situations. They don't have to come from completely different situations, but variety is the spice of this adventure. But it's also totally okay for you guys to have siblings, even amongst each other. So if 2 of you want to create characters that are brother, sister, or something, totally go ahead. We will be doing leveling up very differently in this adventure. So we're going to be doing leveling through part of the adventure itself. So you're not going to be playing all 3 characters simultaneously. We're not going to have some complicated weaving plot. What it's going to be is you'll pick a character to go on the adventure for any given adventure we do. And the characters that don't go on the adventure, they get to replenish their taxes faster. Or alternatively, they can go and do work for one of various NPCs. And which NPC they go to do work for will create options for them to spend their experience points to increase their skills and talents. Basically, if you do chores, then the type of chores you do determines what you can level
up. Test.
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
And it looks like Vivian joined us as well, which is perfect.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I had a bit of flare, but I'm good.
No worries. Were you able to find the character sheets that I created for you?
I have found the White Owl Orphanage part of the Google Doc, but I've literally just loaded it, so I haven't even looked at what's in it.
There's a directory with your name on it for your character sheets, as well as sort of public information that you can read about the location. I haven't finished writing all of it, but we don't actually need it until session probably 2, so I'm going a little slow on it, but there's some basics there. So a little bit of history that the characters may have heard about this orphanage they're going to is that the orphanage was founded by a lady who heard about another orphanage to the north and decided to make her own. And apparently, because she chose the name White Owl for her orphanage, the gnolls in the area super trusted her, to the point where when their village was wiped out by the Cinder Plague, the 2 survivors dropped off their cubs there before going to war.
2 gnoll kids at least.
What's that?
So there's 2 of those kids at least.
Yes, there are 2 gnoll cubs there. Your characters will probably be a few years older than the cubs. They're very small.
No babies.
How old are our characters?
Great question. You have a lot of leeway in that, but these are children. They do not have any experience, so to speak. So in our character creation, let's go through this. Character creation. So each character is going to pick 2 primary aptitudes to set at level 2. The rest will be at level 1, and that's it. We're not filling anything else out in that regard. The more important things, the more important questions are, first, why are you at the orphanage? How is it you have no parents? And second, and this is just a general question for all of them, when the child plays, what hero of the realm do they pretend they are? And you can take any character that any of us have played throughout any of our adventures, and that can be the child's hero that they pretend they are when they play at super adventures in the backyard. Would anyone like to go first? And just make up some stuff and tell us about it.
I'm currently still devising of what my characters will be.
No problem. In terms of available races, all the local stuff is totally on board. So humans, obviously. Elves and half-elves. Dwarves, gnomes, Anu. Yeah. I don't think we have the racial aptitude stuff for gnomes yet. When it comes to the part of your character sheet that relates to your lineages, if you are choosing a race that has required lineages, put those in. Otherwise, only put in 2. We're leaving the other 3 blank for now. The children do not yet know what their full potential is, and so they will be learning about themselves as they adventure.
So unfortunately, because I was running a little late, I missed the first part of your explanation about what we were doing with characters. I first heard you talking about siblings or something, but I didn't quite.
Okay. So these are children at an orphanage, and
Right.
what we want to know about them is why they're at the orphanage. So did their parents abandon them, drop them off in the orphanage on their way to joining the war against Aphthis, or were their parents killed in any of a variety of ways, including bandits, plagues, cultists? There's a huge variety of that. And we'll be picking your first trait from that that decision, what their form of loss is. What I was saying about siblings is that your characters do not have to be related. In fact, I encourage them not to be. I've encouraged them to just come from all over the place. But if you want to have a brother, sister, whatever going on, that's totally fine. I think it would be more interesting if those pairings were between players. So if 2 of you wanted to have 2 characters that are related, that would be more interesting than 1 player having the whole family. But yeah, there's no restrictions in that regard. You may have noticed that on all of your character sheets, you have 6 tacks in your stamina. This is because coming here to the orphanage has been stressful, and you are taxed. That is not a mistake. That is a starting situation that you all have to deal with.
We said the plagues are going on right now, right?
That's correct. This time period is prior to the moon falling.
Yeah, so which ones are they're not all near here, right?
The ones I think that were biggest near here were the Fade and Cinder. But Bone Spurs was also a thing. Yeah, actually, Bone Spurs was a thing. I seem to specifically remember a fight against a cow monster that was made out of multiple cows by manipulating their bones. So, yes. So, Bone Spurs, Cinder, and Fade are big in this area. Although the Starving one was not too far off. That was up in the Middle Kingdoms. Or a little north of the Middle Kingdoms. North of Thoradil. I guess that was pretty far off. Yeah.
Seems like, yeah, a long distance to get to an orphanage.
That was really far off.
We'd be older, almost, or something. Or you just be in an orphanage up there. I don't know how Middle Kingdoms work for orphanages.
The oldest versus the youngest that would be appropriate.
Palladia's orphanage was north of Celebre in the forest. Mistress Maybell was heavily influenced by Palladia to found this orphanage.
There was a kind of a prereq for Palladia's, though, wasn't there?
There was. Mistress Maybell has no prerequisite. She also does not appear to have any magical powers. She's not a druidess of the moon. She does not shapeshift. She does have a walking stick that mysteriously has live green leaves on it that she plants in front of the front door when she's at home. And she uproots it when she goes out again.
It's like druid shit to me.
Kind of.
So just double check. Name recent White Orphanage and your favorite hero for that.
Yes. And pick 2 base aptitudes to raise to rank 2. Ideally, aptitudes that make sense for what your kid wants to be, kind of hero they want to be.
And is this on all the characters or just one? Are we like doing one at a time, or
no? All 3.
Okay.
We're gonna have a big collection. You'll only be playing them one at a time, hopefully. But right now we're just putting together the array. And we'll introduce them one by one, and because I want to talk about once you've decided how they lost their parents, I want to talk about what kind of a trait they're going to gain from that. So, for example, one that lost their parents to the Cinder might give a trait that they're it's fire-related, right? They have an affinity to fire. One that lost their parents to the Fade might have a trait that they feel more at home in the shadows, as though their parents are in the shadows with them. Things like that. And obviously there'll be very different things for, like, parents drop you off at the orphanage because they're planning to go to war and aren't certain that they'll survive. So that might be more of a, like, sort of hero worship kind of thing. Bravery. We'll talk about it. Yeah. If you have one that's ready, I'd love to start working through the one by one. Got one there?
I'm trying to remember. Is there any heroes that actually were worshiping the god that does Asha and stuff?
Brother Jonathan was the kind of the there wasn't a player character, I don't think, but Brother Jonathan was the one who actually brought knowledge of Kyleel and sort of became an avatar of Kyleel. Who else worked with them?
I mean, Galen was great. He wasn't a player, but he was played so heavily.
Yeah, Galen adventured with the hero. Was it Reyna?
Yeah.
Yeah. Reyna's brave companion, Galen, the Kalite cleric who could phase through walls.
It's a cool hero.
I'm trying to remember what the name, like what the god was. Was he the god of mischief, or was he like? I'm interested in him, but like I'm trying to fully remember.
That very much depends on who you ask. It's either a god of lies or a god of healing.
I guess Brother Jonathan and.
So I know you said that you wanted us to not have characters that are related, but I have had this concept in my head for a while now about 3 identical triplets with wildly different personalities.
Okay, my statement to you about this is neither advising nor disadvising, just you will very rarely have them playing together. So if you're okay with that like each one goes on their own separate adventure, they don't interact with each other really, then totally. If part of their dynamic is interacting, then maybe find 2 other players that want to play as the other triplets.
I think that would be my preferred if anybody has like an open spot that they haven't come up with that we could chat about or something.
Technically, all mine are empty. I got my first one. But yeah, I guess the hero would be Brother Jonathan. The reason why they're at the orphanage is their parents. I guess they fled from their homelands because of the war, and they sent me over to the orphanage to so that if they ever came and caught them, that I would actually be safe.
Okay, where were your homelands?
I was gonna say Apthis.
Okay, so they fled Apthis to get out of that situation. That's all right. That's interesting. That's good.
Yeah, and I picked vigor and empathy as my 2 main things.
So they fled Apthis. Basically, they're defectors from Apthis. They dropped you off, probably to preserve you from the. There's a ceremony that children go through at a certain age in Apthis. The details of which are wrapped in mystery, but they wanted to save you from that, so they brought you here, and then they have gone away, back to Apthis, or what? Or do you even know?
I'm not sure. They potentially could be like joining the war, or just going into hiding just in case the war with Apthis was bad, and then.
All right. I mean, they fled into enemy territory, right? So, Celebre is an enemy of Apthis. So this is, yeah. It's not necessarily protecting you from the war, 100%. But if they themselves are planning to involve themselves in something dangerous, then getting you out of there is protecting you. Getting you out of there just to protect you from the ceremony would be a good enough reason.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
The ceremony essentially erases the child and puts the spirit of like an old ghost into them. From certain perspectives, it can absolutely be viewed as child murder. So, yeah.
All right, so I've got one. Are we storing these anywhere? Is there like a spreadsheet or something I'm supposed to be working in? I wasn't paying it this much attention.
I have character sheets for you in the White Owl Orphanage.
Okay, so just start filling out the character sheet. Okay, I thought there might be some sort of like global place where you're working. Okay. So yeah, so I've got an orphan.
Okay. Which of your character sheets will we be working in?
I'll work in the first one.
All right. So copy of copy of copy.
Just one copy for now.
Okay. I don't know if the first one's top to bottom or because they're alphabet. Okay, there we go. Reggie. Okay.
So Reggie is a human.
All right.
Reggie's hero is... Where should I put the hero? In traits?
Yeah.
Reggie's hero is Galston of the Mining Cooperative. And his family worked for the Mining Cooperative as some like relatively high-ranking nobility, but his family was executed by a bunch of brigands in the burning of... in the Mordican takeover of Celebre.
Okay.
Reggie has negative views of the current leadership of Celebre.
All right. So let's see. What would be a good trait to give Reggie based on how he lost his parents?
What age range are we talking about for children? Because this happened a little while ago, but he could have been like an infant at the time or very young. So he might have heard about how he lost his parents or something, or maybe his parents put him into hiding because they had an issue with executions. But I don't want him to be like in his teens. We're talking like
Probably like around 8 years old, maybe as young as 5. I don't want to go over 10.
Okay, yeah, so I'm somewhere in there. So I would have been really, 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 really young when that happened.
Okay, would that be a trait? Hates Celebre?
I don't hate Celebre, but I like the guilds.
Okay. A guild favored lad. Or favors guilds, yeah. All right, that's good. It's kind of specific, but that's okay for a trait.
I believe the guilds are the good guys.
So when acting against a guild, you'd be at disadvantage. When acting for a guild, you'd be at advantage.
So
When
what-
acting for a guild against another guild, you'll basically just cancel each other out.
It also depends on the guild. Depends on the guilds. Like the Thieves Guild, I wouldn't necessarily be friendly with, right? But I believe I was hands down from my parents that like a good, strong, authoritarian economic control of the populace is how you get a good populace.
And plays as Gaston. So when you play pretend, when you play make believe with the other kids, you play as Gaston as one of your traits. So when doing Gaston-like things, you can claim advantage.
Okay.
Alrighty.
And I have a bizarre view of what Gaston was.
I'm going to go back to Tice's character. See if we can hammer this out. Remember, you get to pick two aptitudes to raise to level or to rank 2, and two. Since you're human, you just pick any 2 of the ancestry lineage stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Is it two-
We got
two
Kyleel.
lineages?
This is your character, Tice? Kyleel?
Yes.
All right. What? So Kyleel is Apthian, so obviously human, right? There really aren't any. Well, I guess you could technically be halfling. There are halfling Apthians.
I'll make them human. This one human.
All right. So one of your traits is going to be plays as Brother Jonathan. And then another trait will probably be something related to Apthis. It could be Apthis specific. If you remember your home, you might still have some Apthian culture. So you might put, just culturally Apthian. Or it might be that you just know that you're foreign, but don't really know why. So you might just be far from home. Does your character know enough about... okay. Far from home. Cool, and you've already got your aptitudes in.
Is there a place where I could just like look at list of some of the options for heroes, because I'm unfamiliar with a lot of the ones, particularly the ones that didn't come up in the last campaign?
You could just browse through all the character sheets and all the various folders. There sure are a lot of them.
Also, you could like, if you have a concept of what you want the hero to be, you could just ask, and we could be like, oh, that could be like hero X and Y.
You could even just make up a hero, right?
Also true.
You're an 8-year-old, so
Yeah, your hero could even be like a frog with a crown on their head.
Your hero could be Captain Sky Turtle. I literally just made that up. That is not a reference to anything.
And we still pick 5 ancestries?
And yet, Kristen's able to find a picture of it.
Are we still picking 5 ancestries?
No, only pick 2.
Uh,
The other 3 will be revealed to you in time as you learn more about yourself through growth and adventure. All right, well, that's 2 down. Were there any takers for Vivian's suggestion of creating a set of triplets? Yeah.
What were you asking? I'm sorry.
Vivian had suggested creating a set of triplets, working with 2 other players. Did anyone want to take her up on that?
Sure. I'll do it.
Twins work as well. It doesn't have to be triplets anymore, because it's not all going to be necessarily my character.
I haven't really created all of my characters yet, so I haven't have open space if you want to do triplets.
So what's the gimmick on
Sure.
those triplets?
So the idea was that they would be identical triplets, but with like wildly different personalities and motivations, but also like kind of like to work together with each other, despite the fact that they never agree on a course of action. Was sort of just like the rough concept I had in my head.
All right, what would these sort of diverging personalities be?
Maybe you could pick one, Viv, and then we can like figure out what are the opposites of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do we want to agree on an ancestry first? Because I did have a great like thought of like they don't have to be like a specific ancestry for the concept or anything. Like they'd be anything. So
I'm very roughly, my other characters might be a dwarf and a gnome.
So far, I'm working on a human kid, so I'm down for whatever.
Halflings are also available as options too. We're saying no to goblins because they don't have children. They just clone themselves repeatedly. So there's no reason they would ever be in an orphanage. But other than that, everything I think is pretty much open.
What if they were experimenting and just making tiny goblins?
It would be weird because the tiny goblin would just be child-sized, not necessarily child-minded.
Yeah, it's just like an adult goblin impersonating a child at the orphanage.
That's the hook.
Oh.
His name is like Danny DeVito or some shit.
Yeah.
Oh god.
You may have given me an idea for a villainous encounter, but I don't think that's a great player option.
Yo, where's the gabagoo?
Everybody create 2 characters and 1 goblin in a trench coat.
Yeah. That does basically describe the way goblins view children, though. They're just kind of like, there's big humans and there's tiny humans. Sometimes we make tiny goblins. They're good. They can get into the little tunnels and things like that.
But to answer your question, I don't really have a preference on ancestry.
Neither do I. I'm down for whatever.
While you're all discussing this, I'm going to take a quick bio break. I'll be right back.
3 gnome triplets in a trench coat.
The Anu are great. Like, when can you be a frog? We also haven't had a lot of Anus.
There aren't very many on you, to be honest.
Oh, triplets might be impossible then.
I mean, the hope of the species are just 3 triplets in an orphanage. No.
Anu don't really have triplets because they're
eggs, right?
They're
Right.
hatched. But I mean, so
I mean,
if you consider like your brood like to be your triplets, then you could have like hundreds of siblings, right?
You can't have a three in an egg scenario.
I mean, imagine what would happen if you had an egg that hatched 3 chickens. They would probably not be good chickens. They're probably not the best.
You're just helping the narrative.
Yeah, that's why they're at the orphanage now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that egg just is going to the orphanage.
We are even saying to let hatch, just send it off to the orphanage.
Just put the egg in the river, send it down river, and somebody else will deal with it.
Yeah, it's actually the shape of 3 eggs in 1 egg, and it's just like, no.
Yeah. The idea of halfling triplets does sound like chaotic, at least.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's what I'm leaning towards right now. If you 2 would be cool with that one as well.
It's your concept, so I'm down.
Yeah. Currently trying to debate the whole ancestry stuff, like how if picking up one of the 2 as prodigy is good or not.
So what's our backstory as these halfling triplets?
Yeah.
Why are we at an orphanage?
Yeah. This is where it gets hard because I'm not entirely familiar yet with the history and what's going on right now.
Well, there's just been a bunch of plagues, and the plagues did hit the halfling area, like the shires and stuff like that, pretty hard. There's a lot of people that are just dispossessed, that have lost their parents to famine or just whatever. Like it's a pretty bad time right now. So
Yeah.
you can just kind of go with there were bad times. I mean,
What kind of plagues?
the Athian plagues. So the Fade, Cinder, right? You remember those?
Exactly. Yeah, I was trying to remember the different ones because I know that there were like different varieties of plague.
Yeah,
So-
there was like Thought Lice, Bone Spur, Blood Freeze, Wasting, which hit the dwarves pretty heavily, and then in Celebre, it was like it was Cinder was a big one, and what's the other one that was in
The
Celebre?
Fade was in the north of Sleep, right?
Fade was in North Celebre, yeah.
And the Bone Tyrant had a priest that was coming down and met with some adventurers. But there was definitely an attempt, yeah.
I almost like the idea of them not actually being orphans, but just like abandoned at the orphanage, essentially.
That is a pretty orphan-y thing to have
Yeah.
happen to you.
Yeah, like you're just sort of left at the orphanage. You might not even be an orphan. Like your parents might still be out there, but you have no idea.
Like, who left you there, though? Do you know who left you there? Or?
So when this adventure starts, are we just like arriving at the orphanage for the first time, or can these characters have actually like been at the orphanage for a little bit and they're just starting to head out on their,
You will be just arriving.
just arriving? Okay.
All at once, too, in a big sort of
Like a wave.
consolidation effort.
That makes it a little more difficult for this concept.
Well, you could have been at a different
Yeah.
sort of foster home, but the Crimson Guard are consolidating orphans to an officially sanctioned and funded, government-funded orphanage.
Ah, okay. So they were like a band like at the orphanage like as like barely like even a year old, so they don't quite remember who like left them there. They've just bounced around orphanages, and now this is the one they're ending up at.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
There's no way that kids would know this, but politically, this is to make soldiers more comfortable about leaving home for the war if they're leaving family behind. The idea is to establish public institutions so that they're not as concerned about what might happen to their kids if they die in combat.
Sounds pretty fucking socialist to me. Sounds like commie shit.
Celebre has always relied upon mercenaries for their military, so they have to be really friendly to the needs of that rank of their society.
Right, because if the mercenaries don't trust you anymore,
Then
you
you have
suddenly
no
don't
army.
have an army. Yeah.
This particular orphanage got its license because a pair of badass Knoll warriors dropped off their cubs there and said, "This is the only place we trust." The only reason they trusted it, or at least according to the rumor, is because it had a white owl painted on the side of it, and that is, in Knoll culture, a symbol of peace and cooperation between the species. But, yeah. Crimson Guard is, they're not going to argue with a pair of awesome badass Knoll warriors joining their ranks, so they're licensing this location and consolidating children to here, along with providing it some funding to maintain.
So the context of what another different character that I make right now, I think that the personality that I would like to choose for my triplet would be like a really like feisty, almost bully type. That's a little cruel.
Cool. I'll play the one with anxiety from that.
What's that? Sorry.
I'll play the one with anxiety about that.
That sounds about fair. That sounds about fair.
Maybe I'll play like kind of like a protective triplet. So I'm protective of the anxiety-ridden triplet.
Another thing you guys could do that I think would be really interesting is if, because there are 6 aptitudes, you get to pick 2, if all of you pick completely different aptitudes to give bonuses to.
Do we have to have similar lineages also because of our tripletness, or?
It would make sense, yes. If you are identical triplets, it would make sense that you have identical lineages.
It's just our personalities that get to be different, so we have to express our abilities differently.
Because your bodies are identical, so they should have identical base capabilities. But if one of you lift weights and the other reads books, you will diverge.
What if I lift books and read weights?
You're gonna get a different result.
I don't think it's going to lead to progression, but yeah. I don't actually know how halfling names work.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You could name him Bing Bong, and it could be fine. Like it'd be fine.
That's true. That's true.
This is role playing. We get to decide. We get to make the rules mostly. At least when it surrounds our character creation.
Oh, did you decide what species your triplets are?
Halflings.
Oh, well, you don't even have a choice in your first two lineages anyway.
Oh, that makes my life so easy. Thank God.
Do I have a choice in our first what? Sorry, I lost that there.
Your first two lineages. Your ancestries as a halfling. I'm gonna pull them up right here.
For human lineages, are we blocking prodigy and talented?
No,
Does those break things? Okay.
because we redid the ones that could break things to be based on the actual stat instead of a flat number. We fixed that.
Prodigy gives you a potential. That's why I was asking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Prodigy is not available initially.
But talented would give you an initial talent.
Talent will give you an initial talent. Prodigy can be taken later. There's going to be an opportunity that all of you will have to take Prodigy at a later point in time.
All right.
It will be optional, but the option will come up in the course of the story. Mandatory lineages for halflings are Ancestral Memory and Lessons of the Small.
All right.
Ancestral Memory, you have limited access to genetic memory of your ancestors, which creates you an uncanny ability to get yourself out of bad situations. When under disadvantage, you may tax any amount of composure to gain a 1 die bonus per point taxed. However, the mental strain of having even fleeting access to ancestral memories is stressful to you. You must take Whimsical.
All right. To go along with the idea of us all taking different bonuses or aptitudes, I feel like my bully type personality probably should take cunning and vigor, but as my two aptitudes.
I'll probably have stuff around perception then for the anxious personality type.
And I think for my personality trait, I'm gonna switch it up to be like conscientious, or basically just like trying to like clean up the mess around me.
Thinker, yeah.
Yeah.
Like an empathy agility combo?
Yeah, something like that.
Still have no idea what I'm going to name them, but
Yeah, right now in my little notepad that I'm using before I start filling out character sheets, it says triplet, or the name would be. So
Okay, I have number 2.
All right. Let's see. Number 2. Marion Silverhammer, a dwarf. Ooh, all right. Plays as Malel. Yeah.
She aspires to be a great wizard. No one's told her that's really not possible for a dwarf. So
I mean, it's a kid. Possibilities seem endless. No problem. Claustrophobic, I take it that the parents died in a mine collapse?
Correct. She's from the Troll Mountains. So.
Okay. With focus and cunning, really going for the wizard route. We may have a future like badass sonomancer on our hands here. All right, let's see, Tice. I'm looking at your stuff here. Gifted pharmacist. I want to make sure that there is a way to do it where you can add pharmacist but not actually have it take up experience points because it came from gifted.
You click the little null thing next to the talent. The checkbox next to the null symbol.
Ah, I see. That's perfect. Okay.
So, sorry, just a structuring question. For taking the eccentricity whimsical, where do I actually put that on the character sheet?
So you see how you have 5 lineages with red hearts and 5 with like open hearts?
Okay.
The eccentricities would go in like the open hearts. They are disadvantages that typically are taken to enhance one of your advantages, but in the case of halflings, it's mandatory.
And then just the little tiny blue numbers next to the stats, just adjust those to take into account your whatever it is that you're dealing with. So as an example, like Reggie has Reggie has active, which gives me a +3 to my stamina. So the little +0 next to my stamina, that little like kind of superscript notation thing, I just put a 3 there. If it's negative, just put a negative or something.
Right. Okay.
So it looks like, Tice, you took Cursed as an eccentricity for your character here. What disability did you want that character to have?
Trying to think about that. I guess I could like in apathy, and in apathis it would seem like a boon, but like here it's like detrimental. I'd say that he's like blessed by one of the Apathian gods.
Can you be more specific?
Like I'm trying to figure out like what like he's gained like sort of like gained a favor, like what like, but it's not a good thing. I'm trying to like he's got a curse from one of the gods. I'm trying to think like I don't know. I'm not well versed in the gods. I can always think of something else.
Yeah, it might be better to take a more specific eccentricity, because that's a little vague. I'm not sure how I would weave that in. I mean, the idea that like the gods might have some repercussion for you leaving or coming out of Athos, that could be okay, but we would want it to be like a specific disability. The eccentricities are meant to be disadvantages. They're not just... and that one's a nice one because it can be a story hook, which I like. But we would want to know, like, how does that disadvantage the character?
Maybe they don't come out as rested with every rest or something like that because they've got trauma or some shit.
That could be. You suffer from nightmares.
It has to be like something that kind of like fucks you up somehow. Basically, it can't be a.
Yeah, nightmares sound good.
You're always a little tired. Like.
I don't want to completely take away your ability to rest because that will devastate your character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that there is a piece of food. There's a type of food you need to choose, and if you don't have that food before bed, then you don't get your rest.
Or it could be something like it taxes. It could not necessarily tax your rest, but instead tax things like notice, perception, things like that. You're less aware.
Could be, yeah. I'd like to tie it to something that you can, as long as you take your medicine, it's okay.
Gotcha.
Petra are obviously disallowed because they also don't have children, right? So.
Correct. Sorry about that. No baby robots.
No robot orphans.
We can't pull the smaller frame thing. Like, you're just the mosquito.
Yeah.
No, I like either that they have a child-sized robot frame.
You would be a pre-sentient robot. You're just I'm like, I cut meat. That's what I do. I'm like a sausage cutter. I'm not even sentient. I'm just a dumb machine. And you guys just carry me around.
Yeah, that's their children, right? Like they're the pre-machines.
Basically, yeah.
Tice, are you okay with your character needs a slice of apple before going to bed, or they get one less tax from resting?
Yeah.
All right, that'll be your curse. If you don't get your slice of apple, then you have nightmares.
So I'm still working on a name, and I'll figure out this whole hero thing.
I've got one for my halfling child. Their name is Trompi.
I can't help but these triplets, like, because they're halflings. Like, I'm in my head, I'm seeing Huey, Dewey, and Louie. This is going to be excellent madness when they're unleashed.
I kind of, in that same vein, I want to now choose a name that like rhymes with your name, Jackie.
It's spelled Trompi.
I had penciled in Francis. I feel like it'll be kind of funny if two of them are like rhyming and then the third one's just like Francis.
Oh, I would love that. That's just funny as hell.
Ed, for the trait stable that Tice took, should I modify the formula or use the pluses? Because it's based on empathy.
I would use the pluses and just remember to update it. I mean, you can modify the formula if you want, but or you could. Yeah, I mean, it's up to the user to decide. I usually just use the pluses because that's the easy way to, of course, kind of manage stuff. But it does mean as your empathy goes up, you have to manage it. You could set the +0 to equal empathy, or you could. I would use if you make a formula, I would use the +0 column to create the formula there. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah. There we go. That worked.
Okay, I think I have all of mine. I'm just working on the last hero.
Oh, well, let's switch over to you. Let's take a look. Nice. Which one is done? Chrislisar, Kofrik, or Mina?
Mina, I'm not sure on the here yet. I'm trying to think. But Chrislisar and Kofrik, we can do either of those.
What's it? Chrislisar is a half-elf. Neat. So for half-elf ancestries, you get to pick one of the two elf lineages to be your mandatory, and then the other one you're free to fill in.
I got a question about traits. Do we not put anything in there? I'm getting a thing that says I have too many, even if I put one thing in there.
Your traits. Oh yeah.
Right under, like, yeah.
Right. So your traits. You should have a trait for the character or hero that you play as when you play make believe, and another trait that comes from how you lost your parents.
You're supposed to have one trait per renown, but since we're playing children or whatever, it's going to be a bit over. So just you can ignore the too many
Okay,
traits
cool.
thing. It's not a big
Thank
deal.
you. Yeah, cool.
All right. All right. So the name I ended up with that rhymes is Whompi.
That's great. That's really good.
So we have Whompi, Trompi, and Francis.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Excellent.
Trying to remember what were some of this like roguier type characters that were heroes.
Cantor comes to mind, though I'm not sure anyone ever found out who Cantor was or what Cantor's name is. That's the problem with rogue characters, right?
Matthias is relatively well known now. So
And technically, Violothan was a bit of a rogue. He's now the king of Celebre, but he was a mercenary in his youth and also middle age, and yeah, he was a mercenary for a really long time.
So for this halfling, I'm going to need like a strongman, like dictator type to look after. Not somebody like horribly evil, but like just normal, like probably not good to admire, but
Just like a normal authoritarian, you know?
Yeah. I'm not talking about it's going to like start going for like some Athenian monster or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already got one that thinks Gaston was worthy of worship. Let's see. Who are the good authoritarians? Who's the guy who runs Bone Pillar?
the wizard that runs Bone Pillar?
Yeah.
I don't remember him having a name. He's the guy that lives in the Bone Pillar Tower. He's the blue wizard, right? Like, he's just kind of...
Besides, go ahead, sorry.
So I was just thinking, like, the Middle Kingdom's got to be full of authoritarians.
Besides Harving, who else are like notable leader / general type characters?
Ooh, Talus is full of those. What was the name of the character that the guy who rode the dragon? Miles's like revenant character.
Oh man, I've forgotten. I think the weird druidy woodland fairy
Yeah,
guy.
like he was under a Geese from Titania or something.
Sulthane?
Sulthane.
Sulthane, yeah.
For Sulthane, I mean, there's Kristen's knight, or Kristen's order, Sigurd.
Yeah.
Right?
Sigurd, that's right.
There's Gavin with the silver dragon wife thing. It's complicated. And then there's King Alfred. Like, he's not around anymore, but he was like, he had a big gold dragon, and he was kind of a hero. There's a lot of the big dragon order guys, right?
Oh, for the previous question about a rogue character, Cater would be a very well-known rogue. As he,
Yeah, that guy's fucking legendary.
Yeah, he got like knighted by Sigurd, so he's no way of hiding his identity anymore. But he in legend literally stole an organ out of a giant jellyfish monster. Just snuck up underneath it and robbed it of one of its own vital organs and left.
So, tell me more about this gap with like the silver dragon wife thing. That's supposedly very complicated.
Relationship status on Facebook. It's complicated.
Well, so like the high orders of Solace have dragons, right? That if you have a dragon, then you're automatically kind of important, and you get an order. And so one of the people that's been around for a long time, there aren't very many of those these days, but one of them is Gavin. So Gavin has a silver dragon, and like their god is kind of like a dragon god, and so like having a bond with the dragon is a big deal, and that sort of thing. And the bond's pretty strong, right? So members of an order that have a dragon live way longer than humans typically do. But when they die, the dragon is also like doesn't last too much longer after that, right? So having that bond is a big deal, and it's like the legend or whatever it is, like their religion is just kind of like it's bestowed by Bahamut, right? Anyway, so Gavin has a gigantic fucking warhammer. That's his thing, and he's a good person. He's a bit overcautious, and he's more of a sort of tactician than a warrior. But he has a silver dragon. His silver dragon basically usually wanders around, shapeshifted into like what appears to be like an elven woman, and they have a complicated relationship status.
Not exactly what I was looking for, but it was very interesting.
She gets real jealous.
Are you looking for?
Oh, she's
Remind
super
me.
jealous. Yeah, she's jealous of shit, right? Like, yeah, she's jealous of other. Yeah, yeah. They're both very good. They're like good, like chaotic good, lawful good people, right? Like they're definitely like heroes. They're not bad like insidious stuff. But she's got a bit of a jealousy problem with non-dragon women, basically. She didn't particularly like Gavin having conversations with Sigurd, about like tactics and stuff.
That shit's real juicy. That's the kind of drama I'm looking for.
Yeah. It's just a lot of drama going on there.
Our traits are just like our personality traits, right? I know I asked this question earlier, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, I'm just tracking down stuff on the character sheet here, and I'm seeing in the taxes list, it says that there's one prestige taxed on Tice's character sheet. I'm trying to figure out where that is. Ah, there. Okay. Accidentally touched something.
Yeah, it was in one of the question mark prestige areas.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
All right, so I think I've got everything done for the first child. A human child named Bax. They're spirited and confrontational. Their hero is Gunther, so
Oh,
Thief.
following Gunther.
Their dad died before the war, and their mother was lost to Cinder.
Okay.
You can all be Gunther. Don't worry. It's just before anyone gets upset at me. We can all be Gunther. Because here's what's going to happen. I have another child to account for this problem. Whose hero is Harving, so it's going to be great.
Oh, okay.
There's no
Then I have a
rule
Gunther
against multiple children pretending to be the same character. That's totally fine.
I mean, there's other people to play hero as that will
Wuthar is
satisfy
also-
the constraint.
You have to also consider that Wuthar is also pretty dope. He's like insane, like Gunther, but also is like, he's like he's like a bro that just rides and he like makes animal companions. So I feel like to a child would also be a very compelling hero because he's got like, does he have like a griffin or some shit? Like,
Yes.
Yeah, he rides a fucking griffin. Like
He has a menagerie.
he has a menagerie of critters that he's got like little buddies that like follow him everywhere. You know.
Also, like, yeah. I mean, we could have one child. His hero could be Kite, and then the other child's hero could be Dark Kite. You know, like it would be.
Oh, that'd be so fun. Oh my god.
I don't think most people know that there's a kite and a dark kite, really, so it's not really public.
That'd be like deep lore. You know, these two weird fucking kids that have like a conspiracy theory about there's two kites and they argue,
Yeah, right.
like heatedly argue about which one is cooler.
Well, yeah, because their hero is just Kite, and then they describe him, and it's like,
They disagree
that's not him.
completely,
He didn't,
yeah.
he didn't do that. Yeah, he did.
Wasn't Harving the hype person for Wuthar and Gunther?
Yes. that is an unfortunate way to describe it, but I'll grant you that. That's the case.
I feel like it could be cool if like we had 3 different people have each of those, because then they could kind of be like role playing that together.
The hero band. There's like other followers along too. Like Reyna would also be a great option. She's kind of a badass. Basically, any of Troy's characters that are publicly known.
Oh yeah, there's a list. I have a list of Chaos Children if you want them. They all have powers.
So I'm looking at backs. You'll want to put the plays as Gunther in the traits.
All right. So, because Chris had asked this in the chat, and I also have the same.
Your internet cut out after you said question.
Internet, sorry. Eccentricities. Are those an option for us, or?
Yes. So if one of your lineages requires or has the option for an eccentricity, then you totally can take an eccentricity. Eccentricities are not something that you just kind of take on their own normally.
Right, you take them with the...
Right, they pair with something.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
What was... There's a... There's the dwarf that essentially became someone's spirit, right? That they were worshipped to, right? Who was that? So there's a dwarf that was an artillerist.
Oh, yeah!
And who worshipped the artillerist?
So I had a character who worshipped the artillerist and ended up following Harving and becoming a character. But the artillerist herself was a badass as well.
Yeah, so I'm trying to decide. I want to do a dwarf, and I can change the metal, but basically just their parents were in a smithing accident and coded and became statues.
That's quite the smithing accident.
So the
it's totally fucked up.
The original dwarven artillerist was Muriel. I don't know any surname or anything, but Muriel was the original artillerist. And Tribari Steelhandle ended up getting Muriel's crossbow as a sort of holy relic from the Dwarven Museum, and traveled with Harving carrying that crossbow.
Okay, so I think I would be playing, if I played as a hero, I'd be playing as the person who would summon other spirits, and it's the child mind that said my parents are statues. I want to be like the people that could summon spirits.
Oh, so you're just a hero worshiper like Gunther and all them as well. It's working, guys.
It's the
working.
The thought waves.
Yeah, they're working. Oh my god.
Tribari is a very recent hero too. She really only has one adventure to her name.
Who played that character?
I did.
I mean, it could be that, yeah, like Muriel's awesome also, so like you have that legend to go off of.
Troy, I think you had a character that had like a bag full of creatures that you were collecting.
That would be Kite.
No, that was
Oh,
good.
yeah. Yeah.
It's like imagine the Pokemon theme song, but played at like 33 beats per minute, like way slower, like super scary.
I mean, if Vale hadn't found the crown, he would have been collecting shit, so maybe that would have happened as well, but his brain kind of got taken over.
So
All right. The list of character sheets in front of me has gotten absurd, so I'm going to scale it down and go back to...
Alright. I think I'm done with one of mine, not the halfling yet. But my character, they are a half-elf named Nest. Tragedy is I realize I can't pronounce my last name. Norvire, who is a tad older than... in my mind, it's going to be like a tad older than the other kids. And has kind of been in the system for a long time. Their family was lost in the after the wars, actually. It is kind of like the poster child for what this like secret initiative. They don't know this obviously, but what this like secret like initiative about with the whole orphanages thing is. For. They don't. They're kind of unfazed by a lot. They kind of try to be like the mom of the group. And their hero is Delterra. Because they don't want to go out. They just want to discover magic. They might not be very talented at magic, but they wish they were.
All right.
Still working on the halfling. I have no idea what to do for the hero that they play as, because like I just don't have enough background.
So I take it the anemic is to enhance stable?
Yes. Oh, I was meaning to ask, how do I input the one that I chose? Because I'm choosing empathy as the one that counts twice for composure.
Okay, so because it counts twice, you have equals 2. We just do multiply by, and then wait, which one did you say it was? Empathy?
Empathy, yeah.
So all right, and so we should end up with 4 as the result.
Cool.
There we go. And then as your empathy goes up, so will your composure. Also, don't forget to change the names of your files to reflect the character so that they can be found again.
Oh, you don't want my character to be called Copy of Copy of Copy?
If that's the character name, though.
It kind of goes well with the triplet theme.
Yeah.
So I have my second one.
Excellent. Let's go take a look.
Yeah, their name is Elros Threadleaf. They're an elf.
Oh, pureblood elf. All right. Places map is nice. And your parents were taken by the Fade. Interesting. Okay. Were your parents Philonastian elves or Anarian elves?
What is the difference?
It's purely a political difference. The Philonasti are wood elves that generally revere the king of the elves. They're very much into the sort of like elves are better than people kind of thing.
They're supremacists.
Right, and the Inarians are the mad scientists that think that science rules over all. And
Surin.
yeah, we don't have a good guys, bad guys theme here. It's just different variations on terrifying.
I think the first one then.
Okay. They would probably be horrified that you're in a human institution, but there you are.
Well, they would be if they were not, faded away.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I have agility and cunning as my two things. Sneaking around.
So you're not fading away, though. Your parents faded away. So what is it that you get out of the fact that they faded? For example, do you feel more comfortable in shadows because you feel like your parents are there with you? They're faded ghosts being part of the shadows?
Yes.
Okay. So let's put that in as at home in shadows. Or shadows are your family.
Oh, that hurt me there for a second. Got cut from that. The shadows are my shadows are my family.
Yep. That'll make for a nice stealthy character right there.
Yeah. Also, I'm trying to figure out how the third character's parents went missing or something.
Oh, by the way, do we have to have the same aptitudes, triplets? Are we going the same aptitudes, or are we picking our own aptitudes?
I thought we were all picking completely different aptitudes because
Cool.
completely different personalities. So, like, I chose vigor and cunning. I think, what was it? Agility and empathy was what Kristen was choosing?
Yeah, and I've chosen perception and focus.
Right.
So everyone's completely different. I love this. This is great.
Just like you were supposed to be one halfling, but like some god that it would be a joke to split you into 3 different people.
Oh, you can do the 3 halflings in a trench coat.
We can. Yeah, we're ready. That's my...
Yeah.
Yeah. My third
You could
character
also
is,
you could call them thirdlings.
Yeah, my yeah.
Ah.
My third character, his name is Glup.
What I'm looking forward to is that the triplets getting together and swapping roles for some end goal. I'm still looking for, like, because again, I really just don't know the names or what these people have done yet. Like, I'm kind of looking for somebody who had, like, a lot of authority and kind of carried that authority as its own form of power. In probably recentish history.
Violothan took the throne of Celebre by force.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Violothan has magic coins that make him immortal, and so when they went to cut off his head for treason, it broke the blade, and he basically got back up out of the guillotine, and with the broken blade took over the city.
That works. That definitely works. How did I spell that?
Great question, Ed?
It's complicated.
It's one of those lookups.
All right.
Give me a second. I need to make sure.
I spent the entire last campaign spelling Celebre with a C, so.
I only knew how it was spelled before we started playing because it was a password to something.
Yeah, that's actually how I found out it wasn't spelled with a C, is that Ed used it as a password for some game we were
Was
playing.
TeamSpeak or something? We like used it for something.
All right, so I've got my third character whenever.
Yeah. We agreed that, like, our parents sort of like abandoned us in the middle of the plague at some random orphanage when we were too young to remember.
Yeah.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Cool. I don't know what we get from that yet, but
There's an interesting question. Do you all get the same thing? Is that like one thing you're unified by, or do all of you interpret that differently and due to your different personalities?
I would like it for it to be something that we unify around, given the fact that we have been in orphanages for a very long time and
Yeah.
have managed thus far to stay together.
I feel like that's like our unbreakable bond. Whompi like is sort of protective of you two. Like you don't get to bully my siblings.
Only I
get
do.
to bully my siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're basically the only constants in each other's life.
For
All
better
right,
or
so
worse, yeah.
I would phrase that as we stick together.
Is that a trait?
Yep. And I would say that whenever you are not splitting up, not going different ways, but making sure that not just you, but also like whatever party you're with, making sure that they stick together, that they don't wander around.
Like basically with the anti-Scooby-Doo effect. Like we're
Yeah.
like, no!
You're what every horror film needed but didn't have.
For my other character, I currently have it as like just fair lost to war. Jossie isn't giving me anything. I was thinking that it's propaganda tool, where they are because their family is like it's like the secret like reason they're doing all this, but also like it needs to be public that hey, we are taking care of the children, right?
Yeah.
So because their family background is so close to their goal, Nest might get used very frequently as a propaganda tool for whatever.
And when I say secret, it's really just secret to the kids. Like all the adults know that this is what this is about.
Right.
They just they don't want to put that on the kids. They feel like the kids shouldn't have to deal with that level of issue right now.
So in my mind, this would like get Nest like a little more leeway, a little maybe an extra bowl of food if they want it.
Playing on your celebrity a little bit. Yeah.
Like you see Nest's face on posters around town sometimes, you know. The happy kid at the orphanage.
I like that. That's a good one. Good trait. So far, nobody's made wants to be a fire mage with the Senders. Lost parents to the Senders. Now I'm one with the fire thing. So we're definitely going the more interesting routes.
Yeah, let me return to my initial human child.
What's that, sorry?
I'm trying to figure out how to... So my human child's the only one that's lost a parent, specifically to an Appian plague. Lost to the Cinder. Their father died before the war. Where am I to... Where do I put things like how their orphanness has affected them? Is that just under traits?
Yeah, you should have two traits. You should have one trait based on how you lost your parents, and the second trait should be who you play as in Adventure Time.
Gotcha. In this case, I put things like personality traits in there as well.
No, not yet.
No. Okay.
That'll just be how you choose to play the character until such time as renown starts getting handed out.
Gotcha. So it's in this case like the thing that affects me based on my orphanness, and then who I play as. That's the only traits I'm putting in there. Okay.
Since your traits are what give you advantage and disadvantage, they're going to be really important because advantage and disadvantage can affect your threshold on some rolls, and in a lot of rolls you're going to be rolling one die early on. So the threshold is like a huge swing on that.
So, with what little I know about the Anu, I do want to make my third character an Anu, but can I have, like, just a quick lore about the Anu? Like, Spark Notes version, I guess.
100%. Anu are frog people. They originated in islands in the south and generally east of Celebre, but have emigrated because they are good in the water, which makes them good at sailing. And yeah, like the Anu, unique among sailors. If they fall overboard, it's not a problem. They can often keep pace with the boat for short bursts and then just spring back onto the boat. In terms of like their frog-like attributes, they bear more resemblance to tree frogs than like normal water frogs. But they swim. They are amphibious. They can breathe underwater through their skin. And their list of special race-specific aptitudes is pretty extensive. The required ones are...
There are 2 required ones, so those are just the ones I go with first, right?
Yes. And then as you grow up, you may find that you have others that you didn't know about.
Right.
It can be crazy like my frog, and all 5 were.
Yeah. An Anu reaching puberty may discover that their skin can change color to match the background and secrete poison, and that they have flaps under their arms that turn into wings so they can glide. It gets bonkers.
Or I like to call it falling with style.
I think I've got all my characters in.
Yeah, it's funny. My third character is in Anu.
Oh wait, I don't have lineages picked for my third one. For half elf, I have to pick one human and then, one elf and then anything else.
Yeah, so for half elf, pick one of the 2 required. So the elves have 2 required lineages. As a half elf, you are only required to take one of them.
Does that mean you can't have both?
You can if you want. You can't have any of the. You're restricted to only having the blood of traits, which again they're not all filled out. So there's like double stacking stuff for the elven lineages. So like blood of whatever and then child of whatever, which requires the blood. As a half elf, you can't take the child of stuff. My third character is a half elf.
So, quick question: how do I note gifts for myself? Is there like a spot to do that?
I would do it in the same kind of area under lineages where the eccentricities go.
Yeah, just stick it as like an extra lineage, and then if you check the lineage box, the heart will turn into a red heart, and then you can just like add them there.
Okay.
I've been using the red hearts to just sort out the fact that like you get 5 total of the like slots, and then all the extra effects that are coming from that I kind of just been putting underneath.
Yeah, the only advantage being that like if you have well, yeah, that's fine. The red and the open hearts, you can click on them and it'll take you to the wiki. So that's useful if they're the right ones, but it doesn't really matter.
All right.
There's nothing written in the section for like say all these different tribes.
What was that?
That's correct. There's nothing written in there. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I'm not like missing a little thingy to expand field or something.
No, I just haven't written them yet. So.
Can make some assumptions.
But if you pick some, then I can endeavor to write them up, basically. So the Tangle and Waking Dream are mandatory for elves, and then Phelon is a Philonastian elf, so if you're an Inarian or you're from Philonasti, then you probably have one or both of those. Salib or Celebran elves. So if you're an elf from Celebre, then you probably have one or both of those. Ray is further afield. That's like the Wraithy. Kristen had a Wraithy at some point. Those are very rare in the West.
I'd go
Corlan
for
are the elves that live
Salib.
in Corlanth.
I'd like to explore the tribe of Salib since they're from the area that we're around, right?
Yep.
And it's relevant to the character's backstory as well.
Yep. All right. I'll endeavor to write this up. But yes, Celebran elves are typically like
What's the required trait I would have to take then in that case?
at least Blood of Salib, and then optionally also Child of Salib.
What's the difference?
Child requires blood. Blood is a weaker one. Half elves can have that. Child is like has some additional things, I guess.
I'll go with Blood of Salib then. Traits, all information on that TBD, basically.
Yep.
And then I can pick something from a general lineage since I'm human too.
Yeah, I took Waking Dream and Blood of Lanar, which I'm going to write up as well. I have gills.
Yeah, that's just dope.
Is there anyone who does not have 3 characters done yet?
I'm still working on my third.
Okay.
Yeah, trying to figure out how my character lost their parents, not for the third one.
I'm just working on lineages.
Is there anything like reason that's like particularly affected the Anu more than like it way more noble than just general world-ending catastrophe after world-ending catastrophe?
There's a lot of colonization in the jungles where they live, and so they like until relatively recent history, they were pretty isolationist and didn't really kind of lived amongst their people. They had some interactions with the Wraithy elves that also lived in the same area, but they basically kept to themselves. There's a bunch of colonization and some significant deforestation in those areas now, which have kind of it's done 2 things. It's like it's kind of disrupted a lot of their native habitat, but it's also gotten them out into the world. So now you see Anu around more often than you normally would in decades past. So there's a bit of that, if that's helpful.
It should come as no surprise that colonization did not go well for the natives.
Right.
Yeah, it just never does.
The good news is they probably didn't drown. But other than that, pretty much all of the other ways of dying are on the table.
Yeah.
Or not dying. They don't necessarily have to be dead. Just somehow they have left you to this fate.
Yeah, and the complexity of colonization on Talus and fantasy worlds in general is that the colonizers have pretty good technology. So they have, in some cases, guns and ships and that sort of thing. The colonized, in this case, have spirits, and those spirits listen and are real. So there is like there's a bit of a dichotomy there in which it's like they're not helpless, but it has just been somewhat disruptive. So.
Interestingly, the colonists that landed in the shores off of Phaethon all assimilated and are part of the Phaethonic society now.
Yeah, I mean, it's also possible that like you're one of the brood that was just sent to grow up in Celebre as a translator / representative, right? So that's something that might happen.
I am confused about the differences. Or like, so what do I get if I take gifted, for example? Can I?
You pick a gift. So, for instance, gifted, you get a gift, at Q2. So you get a Q2 gift. So it can be anything. So you can say, I'm gifted in swimming. You can be gifted in, I don't know, chess or
Could it be like
running.
leadership?
It can be kind of anything that you say. Basically, you get 2 pips for whenever it's relevant.
I'll go with leadership then.
Gifted leader.
That's a good one.
Oh, you don't get a gift. You get a mastery, right? So you basically get a talent. So you would take gifted, and then you would get a talent called leader, gifted leader, or something like that.
It's functionally a mastery, right?
Yeah, you get a mastery. So basically, as a mastery, it's like an extra trait. So you're always if you're doing something related to leadership, you always have advantage, regardless of what else is going on.
Well, do I have to put that somewhere else besides the lineages?
Yeah, just list it as a talent, and then set the null thing so it doesn't cost you any points because you got it for free.
Like that?
Which character is it?
Lyka.
Yes, just like that.
Just like that.
Perfect. So
Well, I
whenever
think that's everyone there.
whenever you're doing something that involves leadership, because you always have advantage, you'll always be at a threshold bonus. Unless something else gives you enough of a disadvantage to neutralize it, at which point you have neither advantage nor disadvantage, but yeah.
Masters can't be neutralized.
Oh.
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Well,
why
then that's even better.
That's why
so
they're special.
You're never neutralized then. Yeah. Let's see. Tice, are you still working on your third one?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how they ended up in the orphanage.
Oh, is this an Anu as well?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have a little Anu crew going on here. I love the variety. Lots of Anu, lots of half elves, an elf, at least one elf, a few humans, some
Except for
halflings.
orphanage, right?
Yeah,
it's gotta be.
and some dwarves. Is there a gnome?
Yes, I have a gnome.
Awesome. I think that's it. I think we're hitting every species that's in the area.
I also have, I think, all my characters ready. Unless I missed something.
For the traits for your Francis, who do you play as is listed there as well.
Oh, I do have that. I just didn't put it up in the trait area because I wasn't sure if are we just saying plays as and then that's it?
Yep.
So I guess I don't really know for the other trait though what it'll be for the why are you at the orphanage for my other 2 characters?
Okay, so let's.
Or is that something that I can just make up?
Well, yeah, you can make it up. That's sort of what we're doing here.
Cool.
What would you like it to be?
So I have a dwarf, and I'm just saying their parents died in the wasting because when we were talking about the different plagues, Ed was mentioning that impacted the dwarves a lot.
Okay. So would that make your character more like aware of food?
I guess so. What exactly was the wasting? Was it like a famine?
So the wasting was a plague that would cause people to believe that they shouldn't eat. And whenever they would express this belief, the words would transmit the plague to anyone who heard them.
Damn.
Yeah, it was messed up, and it wiped out an entire dwarven mountain.
Yeah, the Faith and Knock, our Faith and Knock group went there.
The wasting was the one that was spread by the Apthian god that really liked halflings for some reason. It's the Scavenger King. And a halfling with vulture wings as one of their priests showed up, and the Faithanok did very, very cruel things to it that it very much deserved.
Yeah, let me think a bit on what the trait would be for that.
I can think of sort of two angles to go at. One of them is the importance of food, and the other one is the importance of being aware of what you're listening to and like knowing how to tune out bad information.
Selective listening.
Yeah.
Is there a like no character who's like a notable like Anu resistant fighter on this?
So far, I think Troy's played the only player character Anu, but
You can make one up right now.
Yeah.
Based on
I mean, I could make one up, but I was just wondering if there was one already in the lore.
not to my knowledge. Was there, Ed, can you think of any Anu NPCs that have played any kind of role?
No, I mean they're pretty rare, even now in the West. I mean, it was basically like Troy's character Vale was like a major Anu. There haven't really been any other major Anu peoples.
Vale was pretty important in quite a few confrontations, though, particularly in helping Celebre against Baron. I don't know if that qualifies as resistance fighter, but yeah.
In my mind, Araxi does not want to be here and should not be here. Araxi's named by Anu. And kind of resents Celebre because this is just where she's ended up now after Gate separated some colonial like deforestation incident. And just does not want to be here. It's like brought here to like do whatever's useful, but wants to go back. So I was just wondering if there's like a character already known. But if not, I'll just make one up. I have no name for it yet.
Okay. I do have an Anu NPC that you're going to meet later, who was a kind of a, not exactly a pirate, but kind of a privateer. I don't know.
An adventurous sailor, let's say.
Yeah, an adventurous sailor. I don't know if that would be a good one for you. They're actually going to show up in the village.
You can have a little like starstruck moment.
That actually might like be a good one. For
Okay.
Depends on what their motivations are. Like, what's their motivation? As
They're retired.
Retired, but like when they were,
Like for whom were they privateering and why?
Yeah, for who were they privateering?
For the highest bidder, of course. So they were in the sort of trade conflicts between Celebre and Corlanth, and they ended up working with a captain, became sort of first mate on that captain's boat. His name is Lorpin. He's really old now, like been retired for a while. But yeah, Lorpin was the feared first mate of Captain Lowendahl. They would interrupt trade amongst the colonies, either for Corlanth against Celebre or for Celebre against Corlanth, depending on who was paying. They only took privateering contracts. They didn't do independent piracy. So they were always rating under a document of seizure.
I kind of would like to have my character be like idolizing somebody who appears just there. So that maybe I'll do a little bit of a slight change and take advantage of that, because that sounds like really like an interesting arc for them, being their hero and all.
Yeah. All right. His name is Lorpen.
Spelling all that.
Lorpen.
Finally, a spelling that makes sense.
Honestly, I came up with that name by taking the term leaping and just misspelling it.
And then
Yeah, I think I got Glup's second trait.
all right, so I guess my idea for this Anu is like one of those that was like sort of brought to eventually end up being like a diplomat or whatever. Has been put in this orphanage as part of this program or whatever. But
Your mic cut out. I heard that they were put in this orphanage to be a diplomat.
yeah, but they really resent it. They
Okay.
have no interest.
Tice, on the character Gulp, I'm going to add in Gift of Rain. Is that supposed to be your second gift?
Oh, I thought I put that in there. Must have.
Yeah, I see that you got the swimming in there. I just want to make sure that both slots are occupied.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anybody who doesn't have all three done?
I'm still trying to figure out what I would get from my like background while I'm in the orphanage. I would like to have something like I get some sort of bonus when breaking the rules, essentially, because I just really resent it. But not sure how that would work mechanically.
I mean, if your trait is like agitator or I don't want to be here, then anything you do to escape your confinement, you'd have advantage on. And things that help you get back home again safely would give you disadvantage.
Sorry, I lost internet in the middle of that. I didn't hear all of it.
So if you took as your trait, I don't want to be here, then you would have advantage on things that help you escape to go on adventures, but disadvantage on things that help you get back home safely.
All right, that worked.
Yeah, speaking of traits, I guess I put in for my human escapism, and that's like basically the more sort of immersed they get into their play, the better they get. But returning to reality is like a bummer for them.
I love playing make believe.
I like this now because I have a character that's basically the teacher's pet and a character who's basically the problem child, and also the halfling triplets.
I think you've got two problem children there, yeah.
One problem children, as in like a low like gonna get into trouble. The other one is just a problem children in the sense of relationships with other kids might be a little strained.
Let's just get a recap. Like, what is Kite actually famous for?
That's a great question, as a lot of the situations that they ended up in didn't have a lot of witnesses that survived.
Yeah.
Well, I would say like his evil stuff is what he's famous for, like the ending things.
Yeah, the
'Cause
incidents in
that
the
had
Troll
people come out
Mountains
of it.
trying to open the gate, that was pretty intense. Not a lot of witnesses to that, but the ones who were there definitely would have told some people.
That was before, right? Like that's
No,
basically
that's the
our
most
timeline.
recent one, when Delterra and Harving and all of them went up there. But I think one of your first appearances in the West that anyone knows about was helping resurrect Brother Jonathan.
Yeah, that would probably be one that definitely gets around.
Yep.
He's good for, even like a Kyle-based person or whatever. They might interpret that wrong.
Well, some people might interpret it as you gave him medical attention, and other people might interpret it as you raised him from the dead. Just, depending on your perspective. Which is a very Kyle thing to do.
True. And yeah, there weren't a lot of witnesses to the Empty Prince capture. At least I don't think the people from the south would be spouting it off. But that was like the first thing he did. I don't know, actually. Timelines are weird.
Tice, what is penalizing your resist? Is that... Oh, fragile. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's fragile.
Yeah.
If we take a sturdy, stable, etc., do we just add into the max value? Or like a side plus point?
I've been using the side plus points. That's what I've been doing.
Okay.
I changed the way that was done, Tice. I did it as a -1 in the blue section instead of the red section, so that your taxes still records accurately. Because you'll want to be able to know like how much rest you need at a glance.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a question about that. So, my human character has like sturdy and keen, I think.
Excellent. Let me load them up.
So I need to be able to like adjust the values, I guess.
Would this be backs?
Yes, backs.
Okay, so keen sight is basically you're going to be getting pips.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure vigor. I'm pretty sure sturdy does affect the actual values, right?
Let's see.
Sturdy, it counts twice toward your health. Is that what you're checking?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So you get one of your things. So you chose vigor. So your vigor will count an additional time towards your health. Did you take an eccentricity for either of them?
No.
Okay.
Was I supposed to?
No, but you're allowed to if you want to take it. Basically, the eccentricity.
Get 1 for 1, right? I can trade like an eccentricity for.
Well, the eccentricity is a disadvantage that enhances one of them, right? So, like with keen, basically, whenever you're using your sight for something, you get an extra 2 pips. If you took an eccentricity, that would be 4 pips. With sturdy, it's going to add your vigor an extra time into your health. If you took an eccentricity, it would add it another extra time into your health. So you'd be getting triple vigor in your health. But the eccentricities are disadvantages. They will apply some kind of penalty to your character. So yeah, they're
They
not.
choose what they do, or is it set by the eccentricity?
There is a list of eccentricities you can choose from.
I'll leave it be.
Cool.
I don't like taking negative traits. They squick me out.
Yeah, I understand.
Unless you already like plan on playing your character a certain way, then you might as well take it. Like if you're gonna play fragile or whatever.
Yeah, if you were planning on playing a fragile character, this basically gives you some kind of a reward for doing that. But yeah, if you're not planning on this character being a weak-minded or flighty or any of those silly things, then this is fine. This will work.
Okay, so I have a.
And I have updated your character sheet accordingly.
I have a parents died from the fade. So if I take a trait, like I was pulled out of the fade.
Ooh, okay.
And so I can say I hate the shadows. So like I was playing with the name, so shed the light or something, just like I don't like shadows, or I like the light, or whatever it is.
Okay.
Not sure what to go with there.
You could also go with something about the magic that pulled you out of the fade too. It's like spell touched or something. But yeah.
I was just gonna keep that perfectly in story and just say plays as Orin.
Clings to the light.
Clings to light is good.
That's great. So now we've got like two opposite versions of that. What happened here? And there's some weirdness on Jackie's Back's character sheet. One of the talents has an error.
Which character?
Bax.
One of the talents has an error?
Do we have talents?
Oh, somebody just copied. Well, that's interesting.
No, you should not have talents unless you took a lineage that gave you a talent.
Got it.
All right, so just to reiterate before we get our first little taste of story in.
Oh, okay. Somebody added the little thing. Somebody messed up that little 0. That's not supposed to be editable, so somebody must have that all fixed.
The 0?
Not the 0. There's supposed to be a checkbox next to power. It's currently a dash.
Ah, okay. Oh yeah. Oh, that's weird. All right, cool.
That's it.
I have a couple questions really quick. Would it be valid to play as the Moon King?
Yes, totally.
Cool.
That is a character that people are aware of, and that can totally be something that a child plays as.
Awesome. And then one other question. I have my gnome character, and then I was going to say their parents died of bone spur, but I don't know if that's like something that could happen.
100%. Lots of people have died from bone spur.
Cool.
It's awful.
Yeah, it's a terrible way to die. Your bones
Yeah,
literally
sad.
start growing out of your skin until they cut you to ribbons.
Yeah, I made my trait for that no pain, no gain. And they're going to be kind of like a, I don't know, muscly meathead kind of person.
That which does not kill you makes you sharper.
And they will play as Randy Gearhands. Assuming... Exactly.
All
I
right.
thought that might be fun to have an explosive play.
You and my human are gonna get along.
Nice. Are they also playing as Randy?
No, but I did. Their parents died from a miscalculated demolition, and so they idolize and play as Azapu,
Oh, nice.
who's a demolition expert first and foremost.
That's awesome.
Does everybody have 3 characters now?
I believe so.
Yep.
Alrighty. We'll get Tice up to speed here when he gets back, but basically, so your characters have been in the middle of the night, sort of unceremoniously collected by your tenders, minders, foster, wherever it was you've been, and without much explanation, put onto carts and kind of ridden out in the middle of the night. They tell you everything's going to be okay. You're going somewhere safe, but it's a pretty traumatic experience. And eventually, they gather all of you in a barn. They say, "Okay, we need you kids to all just stay quiet, as quiet as you can. Maybe tell like stories, but tell them softly." Men with weapons and red capes are marching around the outside of the barn. They said, "Don't worry, a bigger cart is coming. We're going to get you all to safety." So you all find yourselves here, and let's just go through and have everybody take a turn introducing one of their characters to the other children. Here in this barn in the middle of the night by lamplight, where it's too scary to sleep, and there's definitely something wrong going on outside. Troy, why don't you go ahead and start with one of your characters? Just have them stand up and introduce them to the other kids.
Jeez.
Or does somebody have a character that would take charge in a situation like this? Maybe an older kid?
Definitely Lyka then.
I also have one who would take charge of this nest. They would as well.
All right, make opposed empathy rolls. The winner gets to take charge.
You can do it in session, right?
Yes, do it in the chat window here in this this video call.
All right.
Forgotten how to roll dice. I get pips for leadership talent.
Yes.
P2 then.
And if this is the same character that has the leadership mastery, you're also at a threshold advantage.
P2?
Uh,
P5, I should say.
T5, yeah. It's a tie!
You both just stand up at the same time.
yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Okay, in this case, because my hero of choice is Harving, I choose the diplomatic rat and let the other person lead.
So, Nest is going to stand up there. What's like in the bar? Is there like something like is there like anything I could use as like makeshift blankets or something for like the younger kids or whatever? Like some straw or something.
Yeah, there's some straw. There's some horse blankets. They're a bit heavy for like continued use, but you could rig up something.
Yeah, she's basically going to get up and go. Shh. Probably there's like a few crying kids in there as well. I imagine like this is a very stressful time.
You guys are playing as the kids, so if any of you are crying, let us know.
Anybody who wants to be a crying kid.
Trompi is definitely crying.
Whompi, by the way, is like elbowing Trompi in the ribs to shut up.
Which is why I'm crying more.
But Ness is going to like go and like to like the crying Trompi like with like a little pad of straw and like maybe a little blanket and say, "Shh, it's gonna be okay. My name's Nest. We're going to be okay. They're here to protect us. Just try and just sort of like try to reassure the crying kids. If there are any more crying kids, speak now or forever hold your tears, I guess."
Of course, all of you are strangers to each other. None of you
Yeah.
have ever met before, so it might be a good idea to introduce each other.
Yeah.
Bax will be next. Bax is definitely next. Hi, I'm Bax. I'm gonna assume that they're like sitting on a box. This person immediately launches themselves into the air and does like a superhero landing, like bam. They do that first and then say, "Hi, I'm Bax."
Okay. All right, so I guess we're starting with Bax then. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, okay, so I do what I just said. I am sitting on top of like a stack of boxes and I leap down and do like a tuck and roll, pow kind of fucking landing. And then I stand up with my arms akimbo. Hi, I'm Bax.
Very Gunther-in style.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ness just tries to hush you while trying to console some more Trompi.
Who's going to introduce themselves next? Ed, do you have a character to introduce?
Reggie's standing in the corner, kind of ignoring everyone else at the moment. He looks kind of like just a... I don't know, he looks like he has an air of superiority around him. But from that general direction out of like the cart or wherever we're being pushed out over, wherever we're coming from, basically, there's a small dwarven girl. She says, "Hi, I'm Mari."
Bax and Mari have introduced each other. Does anyone have any questions for them? It's not unusual to see humans and dwarves, so it's not like, oh wow, it's a dwarf. But yeah. Viv, do you want your taking charge kid to maybe introduce themselves a little bit so that people know, so the other kids know like who they are?
I mean, in my mind, Nest is less going to be just like, "Hi, I'm Nest." They're more going to be just consoling, like, and trying to make sure that everybody follows the rules.
It is hard to console somebody though when you're a stranger to them.
Yeah, I mean, so far Nest has introduced himself to Trompi because Trompi is somehow the only kid that's crying in this extremely traumatic situation.
In that case, if that's your style of leadership, then
yeah, that's like Nest's style of leadership is like very, very quiet. Like, make sure we all follow the rules.
right. In that case, Lyka will take charge from here, and they'll kind of like stand either in the middle or up, where everyone can see them first, and say like, "Hi, I'm Lyka. I guess we're all being shipped out together. Is everyone feeling good? Everyone all right? You okay there, little guy?" Looking at Trompi. Trompi has like snot coming down their nose. They're very sad. In that case, just say like since we're all gonna be hanging out together, we might as well all get to know each other. Does anybody like to play games?
Games are so much fun. The name's Kyleel, and and I'll pull a little bottle of what I pretend is. Would you like a drink? I'm not allowed to have the real stuff yet. They say that I'm too young for it. But here is my fake Ashta.
I graciously take out. I cup my hands together. Why, thank you. And I cup my hand and pretend like I'm receiving the Ashta, and then pretend like I'm drinking it.
Araxi is probably already annoyed at this and has gone over to wherever. What's your character's name, Ed? In the corner. That's one.
Reggie.
Reggie, yeah.
Araxi next to Reggie silently. Try to watch out that same window.
Yeah, Reggie kind of looks back and says, "The shipping is some sort of weird socialist communist commune or something. I don't understand why I'm being mixed in with the rest of you people." He says.
Araxi just stares at you and does not speak.
All right, so I've lost track of how many people have introduced.
I've got 2 of my characters introduced so far.
All right, Troy, have you introduced a character yet?
I haven't.
Oh wait, no, actually, I've got all 3. I've got Lyka, I've got Bax, and I've got Trompi.
Yeah, you like snuck one in there.
I was gonna do them one at a time, but you guys go it. It's going good.
So my character slinks kind of like shelled in the corner, moving toward like whatever candlelight there is. And then as soon as I get the candlelight, I stand like super tall and just say, "Don't we need some more light in here?" And I just start looking around for candles, and it's just the name's Chrislisar, and if we could just anybody wants to help, let's get some light.
That doesn't sound like fun. By the way, the name's Elros, and I'll blow out the candle beside you. That's much better.
Yeah. Sorry, go fish. At this Nest will like stand up like they'll be like very quiet.
Your audio's cutting out.
Tice?
Yeah?
I forgot the name of the character you just introduced.
Elros.
Elros. Okay. So Nest will stand up and go, my name's Nest, and Elros is right. We should have light in here. We are told to be quiet.
It's around this time that the adults come back, and they have three carriages now. They look kind of fancy, like this kind of thing a nobleman would ride around. They divide you kids evenly between the 3 and load them up, and the 3 carriages ride off in different directions down different roads. But a couple hours later, they've rejoined themselves at yet another location. This one, instead of a barn, is it's kind of like the back of a tavern. You can hear some sounds from the front, but not like full-on tavern stuff. It looks like maybe this is like a rundown tavern or an abandoned tavern. But you're kind of in the back where they usher you into what looks like it was at one point a kitchen. They say, "All right, this is we've got one more little ride to go, kids. Just hang out here for a bit, talk amongst yourselves. We're gonna have you in bed in no time."
Where are we coming from? Like, where were we before?
You were wherever your character was before, so either at a foster home or
okay,
processing facility for, picked up off the street, whatever your origin story is. You've gone from that origin story into this situation.
Gotcha.
For what it's worth, as they like round us into carriages, express off, like Whompi is going to grab Trompi and Francis and like put up like a huge fuss if they try to separate them.
They're very quick about their triage, and so when you guys put up a fuss, they just put you all in the same carriage. They don't care.
But I imagine in that, Whompi, the triplets are introduced by name at some point. Like, Whompi goes like, Trompi and Francis do not leave without Whompi.
Excellent.
Here in the kitchen, you now have some more time to talk amongst each other.
We're in a kitchen.
You are.
So there's a small, like, frail, half-elven or elven, it's kind of unclear, girl, and she has blue, she blushes blue, which is somewhat kind of a bluish green, which is somewhat distinct. She's wearing a little scarf, and she says, do you know where they're sending us? Where are we going? Do we go south, do you think? I hope we're going south. I really like south. It's like, it would be good to see the sea again. Where are you guys coming from? Were you in the south? Have you seen the ocean? She'll just continue to talk like that until someone interrupts her, basically. So she's just basically jabbering on about where we're going. What do you think this place is? Is it like a little tavern? I really like taverns. I've never been to a tavern before. Have you guys ever been to a tavern?
That's intense, man.
I don't know. My name is Glup. But my people have been known to do the seas. I've come here I'm not actually exactly where we're going, but I know that wherever it is, it's going to be the beginning of my great story.
Now, this character you're speaking as, this is an honor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
At that, Araxi will just groan and like just bubble. I'm Araxi. Yes, I've seen the water. The water's cool. Yes.
Isn't it though? It's like the coolest thing. Like I've been to the ocean a few times, and it's really cool. I'd love to hear all about your experiences with the ocean, like all the stuff that you've seen. I'm sure you've seen way more than me.
I'm sure that this character you're describing right now, Ed would like fucking love the little froggos. Like,
Oh yeah.
Is there anyone who has not introduced all their characters yet?
Yeah, I haven't introduced any of mine. But basically, Henri's going to get up and say, hey, I'm Henri, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm hungry, and we're in a kitchen, so I'm going to go find something to eat. He just starts rummaging around looking for food.
It seems like this place has been pretty well cleaned out. You do find some like ancient, stale, moldy bread in a cupboard. It does not look appetizing at all. But this building seems like it's maybe abandoned, and maybe for a while.
Araxi will road again and take the elven girl. Try to take the elven girl aside and talk to just the elven girl, because Araxi is just sick of hearing them talk everything.
Mari looks at the bread and frowns and just says, looks like dwarven rock bread. I wouldn't eat that. I don't think. It's, I mean, I've eaten stuff like that before, but it doesn't really work very well. It doesn't make you less hungry, I think.
A smell from outside does start to make you hungry. It smells like fresh bread, but it's definitely not coming from in here. It seems to be coming from the doorway outside.
Lyka notices that there's a bunch of kids hungry and says, do you want to go check and see if we can get something out there? Smells like they got some good cooking.
Stepping out the door, you see a carriage coming to a stop, and there is an enormously wide woman stepping out of it with a basket of what looks like fresh baked bread. She motions for the kids. There is an elderly kind of stick of a man who is driving the carriage, who jumps down and immediately puts his hand in his mouth. Shh, shh, don't make a sound. Take some bread. Eat some bread. Get in the carriage.
Nest is going be at the front, and they're going to pass out all the pass out bread to the younger kids, and the smaller ones that can't push around as easily. Make sure that they all get bread before Nest gets it.
Reginald comes out and says, and kind of pushes to the front and just says, "Finally, the servants have arrived."
The woman looks like she's about to give you quite a scolding, and the man gives her a look and just keeps his finger in his mouth. She's like, "Everybody in the carriage." A couple men jump down behind you from the roof. They're wearing the same red capes that the men were wearing earlier when they loaded you guys into carriages. Doesn't seem to startle the other adults, who nod at them, and they take up positions on the cart on the top of it. They have crossbows that they are loaded and drawn, and they are sort of keeping them at the ready as they scan the woods around them.
Shari says, "Look at those guys. They've got crossbows. The crossbows are armed. It's like they're looking in the woods. I mean, is there something in the woods? What do you think is in the woods? I don't even know what's in the woods. I've never been in the woods. Have you guys been in the woods?"
Nest is just going to look at you and like put a finger over her mouth, like, silence.
She goes, "Oh, sorry. I've never been in the woods. Do you know anything about the woods? What do you think is in the woods?"
Let's go inside. I'll tell you about the woods. And Ness is just going to go and take you inside and make up a completely nonsense story about things that happen in the woods.
That's amazing. Her eyes go super big, and then she just like immediately follows you in there and listens to your story about the woods.
With everyone loaded in the carriage, this is a much bigger carriage now, and it does fit all 15 of you. Or is it? No, it's more than 15 now. 18 of you. So this is kind of a big sort of shipping cart kind of thing, except that it's got an overhang and a solid roof. There are windows, but they've been curtained. But you do hear up on the top of the roof someone say, "Shit, I think one of them saw us. Just keep going." And the woman inside just kind of says, "All right, dearies. We're all safe now. We're on our way. Plenty to eat. Just talk amongst yourselves. Everything's going to be just fine. Grammy's going to get you there nice and safe." She then climbs out onto the front of the vehicle, where you hear a twang of a crossbow bolt being fired.
Mari the dwarf kind of pushes her shock of red hair out of her face and then just says, "My gran once told me everything was going to be just fine, and then a mountain troll fell into our house." It's like, adults saying things like that, just usually bad omens. Bad omens. Never say things are going to be fine. Always say, well, just don't say anything. Just don't say anything.
Jinx it, basically.
Has anyone not yet introduced a character? I think Kristen?
Yeah, I think I have my last character. So is there any open space in the carriage?
Very little with 18 children in it, but a bit.
All right, I'm gonna introduce myself to the people in my general vicinity. Like, hey, I'm Zara. Fitness is really important to me, and I was hoping to do some calisthenics here. Do you mind kind of smushing together a little bit and giving me some space here? And then she starts kind of jogging in place.
You have some difficulty as the carriage makes a few sudden turns, but yeah.
But you're also a child, so that
You're
makes
also a
total
child, so
sense.
you just bounce around like a rubber ball, and it's fine.
Whompi calls you a dummy.
And I'm Mina. Just to be careful. That point and points to 6 areas in the carriage and says, if you hit all these points at the same time, this thing will fall apart. It's pretty easy to break down.
Sorry, I was doing jumping jacks and accidentally hits one of them.
Just a board comes. Come on.
You're making that sound like the challenge. Says Kyleel.
You just hear Whompi whisper "nerd" into Francis and Trompi's ears. I don't know is Trompi still crying?
Not crying, just a little bit of snot rolling down their face.
Francis lets you use my sleeve to wipe up your snot.
I snuggle up to Francis and do that.
Kyleel So I was like, "Hey, who wants to like look into out one of the windows when they're not looking? Let's pull one of the curtains back. Like check it out."
The ride starts to kind of wear on, and everybody's getting a little bit tired. This is not an ideal place to sleep, but it doesn't seem like it's stopping anytime soon.
The triplets are together.
Yeah.
And then, from whatever naps or dreams or daydreams you may have been having, you awake to find that the sky is a little bit lighter, like dawn might be coming, and the carriage is coming into a stop. Those of you who know it can smell the ocean. It's nearby, but you can't see it. There's a house here, about 3 stories tall, lots of windows on all the floors, indicating probably lots of rooms on the inside. They announce that you're here. The gigantic woman sort of opens the carriage to let you guys out and introduces you all to Miss Maybell. Miss Maybell immediately says, Mistress Maybell. Says, oh, right, dearie. Says, now don't you worry none. Keep the bread here, and then day after tomorrow, stop by the kitchen. We'll have supplies ready for you. The crotchety old man on the top says, of course we will, as long as them red capes keep paying for it. And she gives him a look that just says, I will murder you if you suggest such a thing. Says, we will make sure that the young'uns are fed no matter what. He grumbles a bit, says, their chits are good. And Mistress Maybell introduces herself as the mistress of this orphanage. She beckons all of you to come inside, says there are rooms enough for all of you. Up the stairs, says, but here on the ground level is where we'll be having our meals. It looks like all of you have eaten and all of you are perhaps a bit tired. So go ahead and find your rooms, choose your beds, and give us adults just a moment to discuss things. As she beckons you through the door into this room, inside you immediately notice that there is a motif. Many animals are carved all around the place. There is a prominent white owl carved from wood, kind of standing in the middle of the whole affair. But just all over the place are different animals, different nature scenes and things. Looks like a lot of care has gone into making this place lively and colorful and decorated. There is a kitchen, but it does not appear to be well stocked. But the bread has been brought inside, and so what remains of the bread is on the table. There are stairs leading upstairs, as well as some cupboards and cabinets, including something that a few of you may recognize as a new piece of technology that has come out of Celebre recently, which is an ice chest. It is powered by some kind of weird magic that makes things extra cold. As the door closes behind you, actually, one of the grown-ups closes the door, you do hear what sound like a horse galloping in the distance. But now you're inside, and if you want to, you can go upstairs and pick out rooms.
Quick question. Does each kid get their own room?
Great question.
Because if so, the first thing Whompi does is enlist Trompi and Freya.
Audio's cutting out.
But I say the first thing that Whompi does is enlist Francis and Trompi into gain 3 beds into 1 room.
Oh yeah, we definitely help you with that. At least I do, for sure.
Well, we don't know how many rooms there are yet.
Yeah, looking at my general layout of this place, I don't think there's going to be one room for each. I think that it's probably going to be 4 to a room.
Cool. So definitely the
Well, the triplets
can't get
have
it.
already claimed a room and are kind of like putting up resistance and get Balforth joining the room.
Zara runs up to where the rooms are and starts looking for the one with the most open space. And then picks that one.
Mari also picks that one. That's her strategy as well. Preferably a window.
The corner rooms have windows on 2 walls.
Yeah, Mari will find one of the most open rooms.
Assuming for your character that's like afraid of the dark, goes to that one of those double window rooms as well.
There are also 2 floors of rooms. So there's a middle and a top floor that all have rooms in them. One of the rooms does appear to be locked. You can only imagine that is probably Mistress Maybell's room.
Is there a kitchen?
There's a kitchen on the ground floor, yes.
Nest will take the room that is immediately next to the locked room.
Okay.
Was that the character that was talking to to Shari, the elf?
Yes.
Okay, so Shari just follows you into that room, just chattering at you the entire time. She doesn't seem to be aware that people are selecting rooms. She's just wandering in, and you sit down on the bed and start putting your stuff together, and she looks around and sits down on another bed and continues to talk to you. It's not clear that she's selected a room or anything. She's just kind of continuing the conversation. And by conversation, I mean she's just talking at you.
Yeah. I know Elros is going to take one of the rooms on the second floor, like where the front of the house is or whatever, and he's going to like crack open the window just so he can like eavesdrop at anything that's going down below.
That's your... Araxi will probably do the same thing, and when they see you, she sees you doing that as well, she will join you in that room.
Mina's just standing outside the locked door examining it.
So we can stop here, or we can keep going for, if we go into the next section, it'll probably last about an hour. How's everybody feel?
I mean, it's about 11. I think it's a good time. An hour from now will be like 11:40, which is pretty late for work and stuff like that. So.
All right. So this is where we'll leave off. We're not doing experience tonight. We haven't had an adventure yet, but this has been a good session 0 for just sort of establishing where everybody is. Yeah, welcome to the White Owl Orphanage, and you'll get to explore your surroundings a bit when we resume next time.
Sweet.
Yeah. I'm guessing there's only bread right now in the area.
Yeah, we're stopping for the night right now.
I know.
Yeah. So we'll pick up next time when your characters have awoken and emerged in the morning, and that's when we'll pick up.
Good job, everyone. That was a good, everyone, good job on your characters. I know we can't give out experience right now, but I'm very pleased with the variety of personality types, the competing personality types.
When we do start handing out experience, the way it's going to work is each of the kids that was involved in that particular day of mischief, so basically one of your characters each, will get to brag. In character, you'll have them brag to the other kids who didn't get to participate in the adventure about the cool things that they did. And then the other kids will decide whether or not that was worth an experience point. After everybody's had a chance to brag, then each of the kids listening, so all 3 of your kids, will get a chance to give out an experience point for something they heard that they thought was particularly interesting about the adventure. So in total, you'll basically advocate to give yourself an experience point and then give 3 experience points out to 3 other characters. And that's how experience is going to be done. Experience is not spent freely. So you save up your experience, and then the kids that don't go on adventures will have the opportunity to go do chores, and in doing those chores, they can spend their experience to learn valuable life lessons that will give them skills, talents, etc., all that good stuff. And that's going to be the pattern. There is also a third thing that they can do, which is to just play, which helps them regenerate their taxes faster. All of you have 6 tax right now because of that stressful night of getting here to the to the White Owl, with whatever it was that was going on that the adults weren't telling you about.
Also, just a quick question: would Kyleel have more because there's no access to apples right now?
No. The apple helps you to restore tax, and right now nobody's restoring tax anyway because it was just too stressful an evening. You didn't get a proper rest. So right now everybody's suffering the same problem you're suffering.
I like how we already have like some like friendships and rivalries starting to form.
Yeah.
Like Araxi's absolutely going to punch Reggie in the face at some point.
And
That
I'm
Sounds like he has a
hopeful
fucking
that-
punchable face. Like, it's true.
He's got a very punchable face. Yeah.
I'm hopeful that eventually, in some future campaign, we'll realize that enough time has passed that some of these kids are adults now, and somebody will be like, "Oh, okay, I'm actually going to play this character now in a right and proper adventure." But for now, I think this is going to be fun.
Should be a really fun concept for sure.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and we'll pick this up next week.